welcome to this, the 7th episode of the superfreakmedia podcast, No Ghouls Allowed. As you might have noticed, we are still without Jono, and I am hosting a whirl this time. So I am joined this month. I keep saying week like Jono does. We are joined this month by myself, Charlie Clark, and also Liam Banks as well.
Hello.
Hello, Dan.
I'm also here. It's not just Charlie in a room on
my own. So, as we said last time, this episode we're going to be talking all about killer clowns and our favourite scary clown films. But before we get into the meat of the episode, Liam, what have we been up to recently? Not just we.
You want me to answer for you as well as myself?
What have you been up to? Or we. You can talk about stuff we've done, but...
I mean,
what have you been up to?
This time of year is fantastic. So, I mean, we've been really lucky because we've had some time off together. So we've been doing quite a few spooky things. We've been going on quite a few adventures. As of recording this, we're set to be going to Blackpool, and I know that we've got some things planned, kind of Halloween themed, next month as well. It's been a really, really nice time of year for us to be kind of just chilling and taking it a little easier. We have also, Super Freak Media have released then a teaser trailer for Do You See It Too? So that has been confirmed as our Halloween short for this year. It is coming together really, really nicely. I managed to do some post work with Chloe, who was in the film, so we shot some more promo stuff and did a little bit of ADR, and it was nice to kind of see people's reactions, you know, as we've been cutting the film together. So yeah, I've been super busy with that. We've got a lot of films in the edit, so that's been the main thing for me. But what about yourself?
Well, like you said, we've just had... Well, we're in the middle of some time off together, which never really happens.
Never. Yeah.
But it's actually super nice we're in the middle of some time off together because I've just got back from 3 weeks in Italy, which for us, I think
I mean,
was...
I know that the last episode we recorded was like literally
just before
a few
I was
days
going.
or so before you went, yeah. So
it's
crazy.
I think as a couple in the almost 7 years we've been together, that's like... It sounds mad to say that, but... It's the longest I think we've spent apart from each other. So it was an amazing time, and I always love my time in Italy, and I'm very grateful that I get to go and work out there and do the job that I do. But yeah, I was definitely feeling the homesick vibes, I think, by like the third week. I just wanted to come home.
Bless you. Well, I think you said you knew as soon as you'd be kind of coming home, it would be like autumn, Halloween, like everything fun.
Yeah, so I was looking forward to obviously seeing you and getting back and doing spooky things for Halloween, which is going to be extra special this year because I'm actually about to start rehearsals for Scarefest at Bolton Towers. So anyone in the UK who's in the kind of Midlandsy area, or if you want to drive a bit further, if you're heading to...
Yeah, you should travel. This is
travel. Bolton Towers, Scarefest is cool.
Incredible... Yeah, it's kind of scare maze attraction.
Yeah, so if anyone's heading up to Alton Towers for spooky Halloween Scarefest times, I will be lurking about in a maze called Darkest Depths.
Sounds spooky.
Yes.
And I mean, to add on to that, knowing again that Richard is actually alive, even though he's not here recording this podcast, myself and Richard will actually be going to record the press night again for Alton Towers. So we're super lucky that we get these opportunities to work with such an established kind of thing. Like, I grew up knowing what Alton Towers was and knowing that they did these sorts of things. So getting to go around these mazes, like on opening night, and record celebrities going through and all of this it's an absolute dream come true. So I'm excited we get to do that again this year. So
I'm excited for you guys. It'd be fun to see
you in that maze and see people reacting to you.
It's going to be cool because last year we did it was the first time we collaborated with Alton Towers, and I was filming with you on the press night, so we were
very rainy press night. I don't think I've ever been in such a wet situation on a film set.
Yeah, so it's
please insert your Blue movie jokes here. But yes, yeah,
it was just me and Liam, and we headed up with a couple of cameras, and we filmed the press night for Scarefest last year, and then we had the joy of going back for the Dungeons launch earlier this year, which was really fun.
Good. Yeah, I mean,
so much
anything
fun.
spooky related that we get to kind of get hired for is always a bonus because that's something that we absolutely love to get the chance to do. I guess moving on to the next thing. Have you seen anything good then lately?
Have I seen anything good? Well, like I said, I've kind of feel like I've been on another planet for 3 weeks.
Have you had much opportunity? I mean, obviously I've spoken to you, but for the people at home, have you had much opportunity to watch anything?
I mean, we're going to talk about it a bit more in depth, but I suppose the thing that I've seen most recently has been It Chapter 2, which I really enjoyed. Other than that, I've not really had a whole lot of time between now and the last episode to actually watch a lot of stuff, because a good 95% of my time has been not in this country, and because I was working, it's not like I was able to go and catch a film at the cinema or go and just do whatever. And in the evenings, I was too tired to even watch Netflix, so I was just kind of putting something on in the background to fall asleep to. But
one thing that I know that we both have seen, though, that has only just started up again, would be the new season of American Horror Story.
Yes.
So we did watch the first episode of that. I mean, we have a knack as a couple. We tend to watch the first episode of American Horror Story together, and we're like, yes, this is going to be a great season. And I know that usually by kind of like episode 4 or 5, things get a little bit kind of weird or boring, and then sometimes obviously they kind of like come back to being great again at the end. I mean, last season, I know you haven't seen Apocalypse yet, which is
I
just been
haven't.
added
It's
to
on Netflix, so it's on my to watch list.
I personally think that had like probably one of the best endings ever of a series of American Horror Story, so I'm very excited to see what you think of that. But this season, American Horror Story 1984 has just started. It ticks so many boxes for us, didn't it?
Yeah,
it was amazing.
There's so many references in there. There's references to Halloween. There's references to Friday the 13th. There was in the music. It's very Nightmare on Elm Street with the music,
is so
isn't it?
Good. Like, I mean, there's vibes of, like you said, Nightmare on Elm Street, John Carpenter. It's like little touches like that they've really perfected, and I mean, they are not holding back on the kills this season. No, either.
Not at all.
I know that Billy Lord obviously said that this was going to be one of the goriest seasons ever, and from the first episode, I think 4 or 5 people kind of got the chop, so that was really cool, kind of getting to see that.
And I think the thing that I really like about this season, looking at the way it's going to be, I mean, it might change, is seeing Emma Roberts as a more vulnerable character.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
She always seems to be the bitchier, more kind of like, you know, we've seen her in Scream Queens, we saw her in Coven.
Even that Scream 4, she kind of had that mindset, didn't
like,
she?
Bitchy, I'm going to take everyone down. Like entitled, like spoiled girl.
Watching Apocalypse is a bit of a redemption for her character in Coven, so I think you'd probably enjoy that. But yeah, it's nice to see, because she's obviously going to be taking on the role of the final girl. I think that's kind of apparent, unless they decide to like do a 180 and like pull the rug from under us, and I don't know, we might have a final boy, whatever. Maybe. It might be something different, but I'm going to call this here, because I know that obviously as the weeks go on, by the time we get the next podcast recorded, we'll have seen a few more episodes. Yeah,
we'll be on like episode 4 or 5 maybe.
I think that we're going to have a twist a la Roanoke, and it's going to turn out that we're maybe on a movie set or something like that, because I'm curious to see how they're going to maintain this kind of trajectory for such a long period of time.
Yeah, because quite a lot happened in that first episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if they're going to pull a Roanoke, simply because they've already kind of done it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was that was series 6 and we're on series 9 now, so we have had a few more series since then that have been just purely like narrative based. But I don't know, I think there's going to be something like that, and I'm kind of glad that if there is, they haven't said anything about it, because I know with Roanoke they kind of were like, well, episode 6 everything's going to change, so we kind of all knew that maybe something different was going to happen. So if they do kind of keep where they're going and don't tell us anything, I think I'll be a little bit more intrigued with that. Yeah. I mean, just to add to kind of things similarly to what I've seen kind of recently, we obviously had American Horror Story, so that's TV. On Netflix as well, there is a French horror series that's just come out called Marianne.
Yes, I want to watch this. This is what we were going to watch this together the other night, and then I think we both just kind of fell asleep.
We were absolutely knackered.
I think we put RuPaul's Drag Race on instead.
Yeah, nice
asleep.
Substitute, equally as scary sometimes. Yes. I actually finished the series yesterday. So I kind of like binged the episodes in about 2 days, and I don't personally have a problem, and I know that you don't really, with kind of foreign cinema. I know that it's a real big thing for people, and there is.
But I think if it's dubbed well, like we spoke about The Rain on a previous episode, the Rain is dubbed incredibly well. Like it took me about half an episode to actually realise
that it was being dubbed,
because it is done so well and it's not distracting at all.
I mean, I personally don't obviously mind watching films in their native language and then just reading subtitles. I'm quite comfortable with that. And when I first put it on, it was on the English dub version, and I really didn't like it, so I actually ended up watching the whole series in French and then reading the subtitles.
Oh, has it got a dodgy dub?
I don't think that it's necessarily dodgy, but as a filmmaker, when sound doesn't match up with lips, that really
bothers you.
that bothers me a lot. So
I
don't know if that's something that I'll ever kind of be okay with. So I don't know. I'll see if I do start watching The Rain, because there's 2 seasons of that now, isn't there?
There is, yeah. I again, because I've been living in another country for almost a month, I have not watched any of The Rain season 2. I did start to watch it. I think I just got through like the season 1 recap, because it's been such a long time since I watched the first season that by the time the second season got released on Netflix, I'd completely kind of forgotten all the kind of the meat of what happens in season 1. But yeah, how was Marianne?
I thought it was really, really great. It was really inspiring as well, because it has that real European aesthetic to it, like the approach. I mean, personally, I thought that the antagonist, so Marianne herself, when you see her, I think it's quite comical, because they have taken a certain approach where she kind of has these big bug eyes, and I just don't think it works. Is it a little
bit Coraline in a weird way?
Yeah, well, I guess, but it's
no
kind
buttons.
of obviously realistic, because it's not animated. So where you can take those liberties.
Is it practical or CG? Do you know?
I think there's a lot of CG in there.
That's disappointing.
But I don't know. I think they've ultimately, it's kind of like what you see in a lot of short films, and I mean, we've been guilty of that ourselves. You know, particularly like with masks and makeup that we've used, where you warp people's features and eyes and things, and there's a lot of that going on. And I don't know, again, because I know that we've done it ourselves, whether I'm a bit more savvy to that, it took me out of the moment a little bit. But what was interesting, a little bit of trivia, is that the demon that is kind of, basically it's a demon that's controlling this witch, and you don't really learn too much about it, but it's,
make way for season 2.
Yeah, literally. Cliffhanger of the century. The demon that's kind of controlling this witch is called Beleth, and Beleth was actually the demon that we had in our Annabelle short. So I know for a fact, when we were kind of writing that and we were doing that research, I looked into this demon and I kind of researched all these things. So it was a bit nerdy of me, but kind of when I saw the sigil and stuff in the show, I was like, I know what this demon is. I know exactly what's going on here.
Demonologist Liam Banks.
Literally, yeah, forget the Warrens. The next Conjuring film's just about Liam Banks. That's definitely what's going to happen. Yeah, overall, I mean, I'd be keen to see what you think of it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I think it's got... I mean, a lot of people have compared it to The Haunting of Hill House in terms of how it is with tension.
I've only watched the first episode of that. That is another one where I have yet to complete. I need some time. I mean, I'm very lucky with Scarefest.
Yeah.
It's kind of rehearsals, a few weekends. I've got some time off during a few of the weeks, and then it's hammer it out for 2 weeks.
I'll be like, come on.
So as soon as I think I've got some time off between Scarefest dates and maybe in November before I start Panto, I'll be definitely piling through that Netflix watch list.
Oh no, definitely. And I mean, the last thing that I would like to mention on the podcast, which I think might kind of link nicely into what we maybe are going to be discussing next month, is there's an indie film that's just been released called Haunt, and it's produced by Eli Roth. Essentially, I mean, obviously you mentioning that you're working in a scare maze, and we love those. I know that we kind of go every year. We've been lucky enough to do Orlando for the last 2 years. Haunt is basically a film about a scare maze that then obviously turns out to be quite real. And
I don't think I'm going to watch that pre-working in a scare maze.
Maybe you don't want to do that. But I mean, a lot of films have tried to do stuff like this. For example, you've got the houses that October built. I know that there's Hell House, the kind of film series with Shudder. There's a good few kind of Halloween films that have taken that idea of what would happen if the guy with the chainsaw in the scare maze is actually a guy with a chainsaw, and you're watching your friends get butchered next to you. I mean, that is such a meta approach to it, and I in all honesty, I think it's a really, really cool concept. But I think what they do with Haunt is they take it a little bit further, because you then find out, to me, the way I interpreted it was that the characters that you see, for example, there's a clown, there's a ghost, there's all these kind of characters, like a devil, which is played by one of the same guys who played Baghead in The Strangers. So I mean, he has a presence in every scene that he's in. But then you kind of find out that they're actually really these characters. So I don't know if it was just that they were deformed underneath kind of like their costumes or what was going on, but there was definitely kind of like this kind of weird vibe that they were actually really creatures and monsters in this maze. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I definitely recommend. Obviously, maybe for you once you've finished.
Yeah, maybe after.
But for people who are gonna obviously be starting this Halloween season and going to scare attractions all across the country, I'd maybe check it out before you do that, because you'll always have that thought then in the back of your mind, like, should this person be in here and should they be doing what they're doing?
Well, speaking of things not being as they seem and people maybe doing things that they shouldn't be doing, there is something actually lurking in the corner. Just over there.
This goddamn corner.
I mean, it's following us around. I mean, we record the podcast in 3 different places over the times we've been doing the podcast, and this corner just keeps creeping up. Is it?
Is it what I think it is?
It might just be Cage Corner.
Hey guys, it's me, your boy. Sorry I can't be here again this month. My Achilles is still on the mend, but hopefully I'll be back very, very soon. Hope Liam and Charlie are treating you well, but I'm here in spirit, which I guess is apt for a podcast named No Ghouls Allowed. So, I'd like to chat about a couple of things this month before I get into the main meat of my segment, as it were. I'm hoping Liam and Charlie may have talked about, or are going to talk about, the new season of American Horror Story. I haven't watched one of these since season 2, so since the Asylum season. I don't know why, I just must have blinked and then all of a sudden they're on season 9. But the new season I am really, really enjoying. It's got a cracking 80s vibe. It's themed like a slasher movie from the 80s. There's lots of little references in there. My only kind of thought about it is how are they going to sort of, I guess, maintain this for an entire season? There's got to be some sort of twist coming midway through, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that might be. Another thing that I've been doing, whilst I've been sat on the sofa with this Achilles thing, I've been reading a lot. I've been reading Bruce Campbell's autobiographies. He's got 3 out, I think, at the moment. I've read the first one. And I'm on to the second one now. I've just lent it to Liam so Liam can have a look through it, and I think it's a brilliant book for anyone that wants to know about, I guess, not just the Hollywood side of things, but also the independent circuit, breaking into film, making a film with your mates, just doing everything you can to get a film out there. So it's an absolutely fantastic book for any aspiring filmmakers who want to know what it's like making their first feature. But the real reason that I'm here is because of a certain someone. Nicholas Cage. So this month Charlie and Liam gave me the task of coming up with Nicolas Cage facts based around the theme of clowns. Now I've done my best, and I've come up with 2 sort of related facts that I think you'll enjoy. So, being in the public eye, being a famous actor or anything like that, you are probably going to be more susceptible to a stalker than the regular Joe on the street. Nicolas Cage is no exception. On the set of Bringing Out the Dead, he was stalked by a mime artist. Apparently the guy would just keep showing up doing odd things off camera, and Nicolas Cage said of the incident that it was silent and maybe deadly. Of course, only Nicolas Cage could be stalked by a mime. Second, tenuous clown Cage fact. When asked about comic book characters that he would like to play, this is post-Ghost Rider, he said he thinks his comic book days might be over, but he'd like to play Doctor Doom. But the more interesting one, an exciting one, is that he thinks he'd make a really good Joker. He said, it'd be the perfect one for me to go even more off the rails than I've ever done before. It'd be fun. Which I think would be incredible. You can keep Jack Nicholson, you can keep Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, Jared Leto. Nicolas Cage as the Joker would be incredible. So guys, back to you. Hope you've enjoyed Cage Corner this time. See you next month.
So, Jono just told us something fantastic if he did send something in.
Well, if he didn't, this is going to be real awkward, and Liam, you're going to have to edit it out. But hopefully we just had a very fascinating Cage Corner. But if we didn't have a Cage Corner from our dear friend Jonathan, I do believe, Liam, you have come prepared with your own Nicolas Cage fact. You are stealing Jono's thunder.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think that I'm anywhere near as... informed, shall we say, on Nicolas Cage as Jono is, but I you know, kind of when you're just trawling through YouTube and you find random videos,
all the time.
A lot of the time I watch videos on weird facts about films, and one of the videos that I saw was 10 crazy sacrifices that actors made for their roles. So for example, in this video it talked about the guy that played Candyman. He got paid £1,000 every time he was stung by a bee, and he only got stung 23 times when he filmed Candyman, which is insane. But that's an extra £23,000.
That's 23 grand.
He walked out with because he got stung by bees. So a lot of that was obviously real, when it's kind of in his mouth, on his face, all of that. So
that's a nice little clause to have written into your
That's Tony Todd.
contract.
That's not Nicolas Cage. So our dear friend Nicolas Cage, what did he do? Well,
something ridiculous.
He starred in a film called Birdie, and being Nicolas Cage and approaching every role like he does, he actually had to have some of his teeth removed. So he had baby teeth. So...
I'm about to have the worst time because I'm terrified of dentists and anything teeth related.
So he had to have 4 teeth removed in total, and he chose not to have anaesthetic so that he could then sympathise with veterans of the Vietnam War, and obviously pain and things like torture and things that they might have gone through in those situations. So he did that so that he always had this kind of source of pain to refer to, and kind of obviously inform his performance when he was on set. Personally, I don't think it was necessary.
Right.
But when is anything Nicolas Cage does?
Somebody who has had to have teeth removed, because I had braces as a child, and I had a dentist who didn't quite give me enough anaesthetic, and I had 4 adult teeth pulled out with not the correct amount of numbing.
Cage?
I am Nicolas Cage. Just going to unzip my Charlie costume. No, as somebody who has had a unfortunate dentist experience where I've not had the right level of anaesthetic injected into my face, and then had teeth pulled out and felt it, totally unnecessary. You can bleep that out. That is
first bleep of the podcast. We've done well.
We've done well.
I think we've been going for a good few minutes now, and you haven't swore, so well done.
I mean,
but it's just, do we expect anything less?
No, but it's just unnecessary, isn't it?
Would have loved to have been there just to see the dentist's reaction when the guy's like, right, okay, so we're just going to give you the anaesthetic then now, and then he's like, no. And you can just imagine he just gave him the Nicolas Cage eyes and was like, you're doing this without. How would you feel as a medical professional doing that to someone? Oh my, it's just a whole thing. Anyway, we love Nicolas Cage on this podcast.
Do we?
Well, me and Jono love Nicolas Cage.
2/3 of the podcast love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
So moving on from the absolute batshit mentalness that is Nicolas Cage
into more batshit mentalness,
into a different pie of batshit mentalness. Let's get on with the actual crux of the episode, which is killer clowns. So we mentioned earlier on the podcast that I've seen and Liam's seen it twice now. We went to see the new It Chapter 2 film. So we're going to talk about that and how it stands up next to the first instalment of the It remake, and also how we think it compares to the original TV movie of It with Tim Curry, because I know people have got big lot of opinions about how it compares, because I'm not going to lie, when I first saw that they were remaking it, I was firmly on the stance of no, get gone, this is unnecessary, we don't need this. But my mind has been firmly changed. I don't prefer the remake, I just think it's got something else to offer. Which is
that's
nice.
A good way of looking at it.
So you went to see It Chapter 2 while I was in Italy. And then, because I hadn't seen it when I got back...
You definitely needed to see it.
I needed to watch it.
To be fair, even not taking into account the length, because obviously the length is very similar.
long.
It Chapter 2 was basically horror fans' Avengers Endgame this year, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that was the film that people were looking forward to. The hype was real from, obviously, the first one. Like, I was super lucky that when I got to see the first It Chapter 1 film, I was in LA, and there was literally, like, the house was built in Hollywood, there was red balloons, like, literally everywhere.
So jealous.
Like, the sewer grates had, like, graffiti on, you know, like, to indicate that a clown had been there. Like, there was, like, red patches around, like, just random sewer grates. Like, It was absolutely insane. Like, and the fever, like, literally in Los Angeles was crazy for this film. And, I mean, it ended up being, like, the highest grossing horror film ever, and it still is. And, in all honesty, quite rightfully so, because to me, it is a near perfect kind of film for what it was wanting to do. Like, I obviously grew up watching the 90s TV series version. As you said, a little on the fence about obviously seeing that they were doing a remake, because Tim Curry is literally just God. So I didn't really want to see anyone else doing that performance.
Yeah.
And especially obviously knowing that he was not in the greatest of health as well. It just didn't feel like right to be doing
it felt like not an appropriate moment for that to be happening.
But then, like you said, I went into that. I knew kind of a little of what to expect, having seen the TV series, having read the majority of the book. I will say I've not read all of it, but again, pretty much know kind of the ins and outs of everything. I think that they did an absolutely fantastic job in It Chapter 1, and the kids were fantastic.
Yeah,
if
couldn't
you
have
love
cast
Stranger Things, then
couldn't have cast
you
better
could have
kids.
Easily kind of transferred that love of those characters onto that. So yeah, it ticks so many boxes for me. That meant, though, however, that the expectations for Chapter 2
were hella high.
So high. And I mean, even from the trailers, I could gauge that this was going to be a film that I wouldn't enjoy as much. And I think fundamentally the reason for that is when you're, for example, with It Chapter 1, and I think this is where obviously the miniseries fell down as well, when you're in a position where you're forced to look at everything from the perspective of a child, when you're then seeing an adult clown, which isn't an adult clown, it's obviously this evil entity, but it's still an adult, that could so easily overpower a child. And literally you see these stories of obviously children going missing, and horrible things happen in real life. So that naturally, I think, gave it that edge where you didn't really know what was going to happen, and you did feel terrified for these kids. And there were so many scary moments in the first one.
I definitely will back you up on that. I think the first instalment is so much scarier, and I think it is for that reason, because it is kids in peril. It's just scarier because, like you said, you are forced to see it through the eyes of a child, and there are a lot more jumpier moments. That being said, though, It Chapter 2 is not short of scares and not short of moments that make you go, oh, no,
the strongest
that's not
bits,
okay.
Though, however, are when we get the flashbacks of the children and we get that extra bit of backstory. I mean, to give an overview, because I assume that if you listen to this, you will have seen It Chapter 1, because I think everyone's seen It Chapter 1, and you most likely have seen the TV series as well, because, again, I think it was very much a kind of a rite of passage. Like, Pennywise is up there with those icons like Freddy, Jason, Michael, as being like one of those things. So I mean, to give an overview of Chapter 2, it's ultimately 27 years later. The members of the Losers Club that have left Derry then come back to Derry because Mike has stayed there. He explains the reason they don't remember anything is because they've left Derry, but he has used his time in Derry whilst obviously Pennywise or It has been in this kind of slumber, to gather as much information as possible about it so that they can defeat it. The twist kind of comes that Beverly in the first one was the only one who actually looked at the creature in its kind of natural form, which was the Deadlights. She's then now got this insight to see ultimately the fates of these characters, so how they're going to die, and I think that was an interesting dynamic. And I mean, it begs the question, because you always see these people in these horror films make bad decisions, and I mean, we're guilty of it ourselves. Like, I mean, you, for example, in Best Friends Forever,
oh my God,
make the worst decisions.
I love the YouTube comments, and I love how invested people get in our films, and it's great that you guys take the time to comment, but please stop telling me my character is stupid. I know she's stupid. I know that if that was me, I would have been out that house. I would have been smashing windows. I would have been getting the out of there. I would not be pulling sheets off no ghosts or walking around taking Polaroid pictures.
She does this in Best Friends Forever.
So if you haven't seen Best Friends Forever, my character makes a lot of stupid decisions, but by the by,
with It Chapter 2, the characters then pretty much immediately, as soon as they're in Derry, are like, right, well, we need to leave Derry then because we don't want to die.
Yeah.
But then because they know that if they leave, they're not going to then be alive necessarily the next time this thing comes back, they then have to stay and they have to face their fears. And ultimately, that's obviously what drives the plot. Do I think it should have been as long as it was? No.
See,
I think it was way too long.
I didn't feel it was... I mean, it felt long because it is bloody long. It's nearly 3 hours. But I didn't feel the length so much.
I don't know.
I thought it was quite... I think it was paced quite nicely.
Maybe because I've seen it twice, as you said, because I caught it obviously before you got back and then I went to go see it with you. Maybe I obviously was a little bit more aware of kind of what happened kind of when and the pacing and things.
Yeah.
But I think there are some moments where they do kind of drag. As we said, they do have to stay in Derry, but I think still some of the decisions that are made aren't the most logical. Like, they do all have to split up to retrieve, like, these trinkets for this ritual.
Yeah.
To me, that, like, their argument is that they have to do this because they were alone initially, when they initially kind of faced Pennywise and found each other. To me, that doesn't make sense, because surely, knowing what you know and remembering what you remember, you'd know that you don't want to kind of mess around with this killer clown on your own. And ultimately, it leads to them all having their own kind of, like, scares with this entity again.
Yeah.
So it's great because it means then that these characters are seeing their own fears again, which is what the first one's very much about. But I don't know. I don't personally know how I do it different, so I can't criticise.
But I think from an actor's point of view, if I was reading that script and I was going, it's nice that every single actor got their moment to shine. I mean, obviously,
apart from Mike, though, really, because Mike was the only one who we didn't really... I mean, there's clips in the trailer where he would have gone back to the property that burnt down with his parents inside that just aren't in the film, and I know that the director... has mentioned he's going to be doing a director's cut, because apparently when they first cut the film together it was like 4 hours.
Whoa.
So there's a ton more footage. There's tons more footage from the first one as well that I know they're wanting to kind of include. So I think there's going to be like some super cut, which most likely will come out in like a year's time.
It'll be like the Lord of the Rings extended versions on
exactly
13 flipping DVDs.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do think it was nice that we kind of got a bit of every single actor, because I think if you look at the cast list, there are two incredibly bankable stars at the top of the cast list, and I think it would have been very, very easy for them as a studio, as a production, to go, right, well, let's give everything to James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain, thank you. So yeah, it would have been quite ezy for them to say...
Sorry, I thought it was coming to you, so I didn't want to interrupt.
No, I was thinking, for some reason I had Christina Hendricks in my head, but that's... that's something completely different. I was just thinking ginger actresses. But yeah, I think it would be quite easy for them to go, right, well, they're the two most known stars. Let's give it all to them.
I mean,
and they didn't.
They got the most developed scenes.
They did, but I think for me, and I think you agree, the person that actually really steals the film is Bill Hader.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like,
he's absolutely incredible.
He is everything in that film.
Yeah.
I love him. I mean, I only really know... I'm not a big SNL fan. I know you are.
Yeah.
I know you know him from SNL. I know him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
And his character in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I actually rewatched the episodes last night with Bill Hader in as Seth Dozeman in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and his character is so different. Obviously, he's only really in it for... I think he only survives like half an episode in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
He doesn't do too well.
But... It was nice to see, and like there are some really heartfelt, lovely moments. And
I mean, that's it.
I think you see him more as a comedy actor.
Yeah.
But like some of the stuff a lot of the film, he goes through quite a lot of it. I mean, if you've read the book, you'll know what his and it is hinted at.
I think they take it and give it wings in this film,
but
which is good.
It's not
particularly
like...
considering the opening as well.
Yeah, the opening is quite shocking given the fact that we then make this discovery about Bill Hader's character. And it was nice because it wasn't like made horrendously obvious, but his character goes on quite a journey, and I really like it when you get to see actors that you know them for a specific genre.
Yeah, but kind of going out of their box.
Box. Like Melissa McCarthy's done it more recently. I think obviously we know her from like Bridesmaids and Spy, and
she got nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, and she got nominated for an Oscar for, I can't remember the name of the film. I'm doing dreadfully on this podcast with names.
The one with Richard E. Grant, we'll go with that.
Yeah, and she got nominated for an Oscar. for doing this really serious, emotive drama. And I do think it is really nice when you get to see actors stretch their kind of acting muscles.
Is definitely branching out and like obviously doing a lot more than kind of these bit parts in comedy films. Because I mean, I've seen him in like films with like Amy Schumer and things like that. And
but he was in like, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of all over the place, like just doing like kind of weird bit parts. But then in SNL, like he does steal the show, like particularly in like sketches that he's in with like Kristen Wiig, like that to me is just like golden age SNL comedy. Like it's amazing. With the film, as you said, he goes on quite this transformative journey, and I think he does an amazing job. And I know in like the interviews that, because they've done so much press for this film, like it's been insane seeing how many different news outlets have like spoken to them, and they always ask Jessica Chastain the same question, like about the blood scene and all of this, and like he has just been pure chaos in all of these interviews. So I think,
I love it.
Genuinely, he'd probably be one of the best people to work with, like both on and off screen. Like you could tell that he would just be absolutely amazing. And to me, he made the film. Like I don't think that, like, you know, in the first one, obviously everyone was talking about how great the kids were, but they were like, Pennywise like steals the show, like he's so good. Bill Skarsgård is just absolutely incredible. But then, I think Bill Hader kind of came back and was like, do you know what? I'm going to like make this role like incredible. And
and he does.
The film itself is a film that really has these quite emotive and serious moments.
Well, you went to see it with
due to the length. But sorry, you go up.
No, I was going to say you went to see it with. I mean, I very nearly was in tears at the end of the film. I know you went to see it with our friend Tonya. Hey Tonya, if you're listening. But I know you said that she was. Sorry, I'm outing you as being a horrendous cinema crier, Tonya.
I mean, she literally looked at me and she was like, "For goodness sake, I'm crying at a horror movie. Like, what's going on?" But
and I'm surprised I didn't cry, to be honest, because I cry at everything. Like the slightest thing will set me off. And I was sat in the cinema and going, "Oh my god, this is actually really sad."
In all honesty, though, I think that, I mean, that would maybe, I think I might talk about my problems that I had with it, because, like,
go on.
That was part of the issue that I had, was the fact that obviously we get this really nice closure scene at the end with the voiceover of obviously Stanley, and then the other losers kind of come into it as well. But it's ultimately that Bill, James McAvoy's character Bill, is then reading not a suicide note, but a suicide note that's been left by Stanley, because he realised he would not be able to overcome his fear and face it again like he did in the first one. So he basically removed himself from the equation by killing himself. Now,
spoilers.
But I don't think it was necessarily a spoiler, because again, if you've seen the TV series or you've read the book,
I hadn't read the book
of certain characters, so I knew that going into the film anyway. But I still think that they did that, like that moment and the way that they did that was really, really good. But I can remember the moment in the original TV series, and obviously this was before I read the book, so I don't know if that had any impact, but I found that truly harrowing. Like the fact, because I can remember, I think his wife comes in and discovers his body, and like,
you don't really see the discovery, do you?
No, you didn't really understand obviously why he'd done it so much, whereas obviously in this one, I think because they knew they were heading to a chapter 2, they kind of really like laid it on thick. Like, this character is the weakest out of the bunch, so therefore. And I like that they tried to obviously polish it and be like, well, he isn't weak because he's done this, because he's sacrificed himself, not that he was scared. But I had a bit of a problem with that, because I think that was making that character's decision almost like this positive, happy thing, and like obviously it's devastating. Like, this character's died, so I don't know. I had an issue with that, but I also had an issue with the amount that Pennywise was in the film. Like, I think the scenes that he was in weren't as powerful, maybe because we already knew what to expect. But it made me miss Tim Curry, in all honesty, in this one. Like, I think the opening was fantastic. I think
I had a problem with the amount of times they
were good.
Yeah, I don't like the amount they CG'd Pennywise in this.
Don't even get me started.
There's this like ultra close up of his face, and then it looks like he's.
Well, it's when he kind of towards the end, and he's not necessarily Pennywise.
No, it's not that. No, not that. It's a bit slightly before. I don't know if it's.
The statue, after the statue.
After the statue, he kind of, it's
the Paul
this
Bunyan
scene.
statue.
Yeah, so that the statue is great, and it's bloody terrifying. I did not like that at all.
That made me think of the projector scene, when Pennywise is like huge, playing with scale like that, and like just jump scaring you with like this giant.
And the background acting in that scene as well, like the people that just kind of stop. Like I don't like that. Like I really hate it when you're watching a scene and just shit happens in the background.
Yeah.
Like not like a creature's creeping in the background, but when there's people in the background and they start doing something ever so slightly bizarre.
Yeah, like something, it just makes something seem off.
Yeah,
like the whole thing.
And it was just after that scene, obviously Bill Hader is freaked out. He's ran off, and Pennywise is talking about exposing his dirty little secret, which we...
But again, I just found that like almost comical, and that should have been a really serious moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of...
the CG. Because he kind of comes running, you kind of get his face like directly in the middle of the screen, and then it does this kind of weird... It's not the best way to describe it, but the only way I can describe it is it's like he had some kind of strange stroke. Well, like half his face, I don't know why I'm demonstrating this because no one can see it, but it's like half of his face just kind of goes...
Well, again, like I said with obviously the Marianne thing earlier, they just warped it to obviously try and make it seem scarier. And I mean, Muschietti, who did Mama, and obviously Chapter 1 has this kind of flair for these characters that have these weird faces. Obviously we had
but it would have been much scarier
in Chapter 1
if he'd have just...
So I don't know whether it was kind of
ran up to the camera.
I don't know if it was trying to allude to that, and I mean obviously that was a choice. So we'll go with that.
An interesting choice.
But yeah, I definitely agree with you in terms of the over-reliance on CGI.
The final bit was just...
I mean, I think we all knew from the first iteration that we'd had with the TV series and reading the book that we were going to get an It spider, so we were going to get like this spider character.
Oh, that was the worst.
See, right, so I didn't have a problem with that.
It was the bit with the spider leg just kind of goes and comes out of the eyeball.
Oh, no. So you're talking about the bit with Stanley. So there's the Stan spider and then there's the Pennywise spider.
Yeah, no, not the Pennywise spider.
The Stanley spider.
The Stanley spider, there's this friggin' horrendous bit where this spider leg just kind of protrudes out the corner of his eye. And I do not like things with eyes, and I do not like spiders. So that was not a good scene for me.
Lovely homage, though, to the thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bill Hader's Richie says the exact same line that the characters do in the thing when they react to the spider leg head thing kind of sprouting. So I thought that was absolutely amazing. But
you were talking about the finale.
I mean, that was a good kind... To me, that felt almost practical. Like, there must have been some practical elements with that the Stanley spider scene, because obviously it's over Bill Hader's head. James McAvoy was hanging on to something.
I'm wondering if they green screened the actor's
with
body.
Stanley, when he's doing his dialogue, he would have been, or he'd have been like buried in the set or something like that. But I didn't have a problem with that necessarily, and the bit where you kind of like see the spider up in the rafters, I thought looked legitimately terrifying. Like I wasn't thinking this was CG. But for example, when Beverly has her flashback and she goes back to the Marsh house, but then it's the Kirsch house and we've got Mrs. Kirsch. Again, I thought in the TV series, the original, I don't know if it's because I watched it when I was younger, that absolutely terrified me, because I don't know, it then just cuts to like the cup of tea is then just all blood, so she drops that, and then the old woman is transformed into basically what looks like her dad but without any eyes, dressed as an old woman, and it was terrifying. And I can remember that image of this person just with like no eyes just really sticking with me. And of course we pretty much get the entire scene in the trailer for It Chapter 2, don't we?
Yeah.
So we get to see a lot, so we kind of knew what was coming. But then this weird CG witch like kind of crawls out of the kitchen, and I'm like,
I must say,
that's absolutely ridiculous.
The bit that follows it before Beverly leaves the house,
the bit with Bill Skarsgård,
is horrendous.
Did you like that?
I liked that bit because again, it felt more practical.
Well, I think it was,
and it probably was, but it just
the stuff with why couldn't we just have a taller lady, like nude with prosthetics on, being creepy? Why did we need like this thing that looked like a PlayStation character like running after her? Like
PlayStation 1 or 2.
Did it not make you think of like Left 4 Dead or something like that?
Yeah, no,
it felt ridiculous.
It felt really
completely took me out of it. I was not even remotely scared.
No, it did feel more comical than shocking and scary. And I think like if you think about like kind of that kind of warped horrendous character, I can't help but think of Rec. Rec is like my point of reference for that kind of scary character. And that didn't feel at all like that. The girl in the attic in Wreck scared the absolute crap out of me when I first watched it.
Funny that you mentioned that. Played by Javier Botet, who actually played the leper in It Chapter 2. So
interesting.
So he played Mama, and obviously a lot of the things that you'll have probably seen that you know.
But why couldn't they have used him?
The crooked man from Conjuring, all of that is him. So they used him for the leper.
But why couldn't they have used him for this?
Don't get why they didn't use him then for the old woman.
It doesn't make sense because the CG was comical, and obviously she is nude, and there were a lot of people that when we saw it in the cinema thought that it was fucking hilarious, and it shouldn't have been hilarious. It should have been like, oh no.
Well, yeah.
I'm not okay with this.
We've gone quite in depth, obviously, with this, and there are spoiler alerts, but I think there were a few moments due to the visual effects that made it quite funny.
Yeah.
Particularly, obviously, then when they overcome Pennywise, which ultimately, obviously, is a twist on the source material. I know that they couldn't really have Derry being completely flooded and destroyed as it is in the book. They couldn't have some weird space turtle swoop in and be like, I'm going to save the day. So I'm glad that they did deviate in the ways that they did, and I liked the Pennywise spider. Like, I thought that was genuinely really good, but...
That was a bit of CG that didn't feel hokey and weird.
Well, no, because, I mean, obviously you don't really have a point of reference with that, so I guess it's kind of a bit different, whereas...
You have to suspend reality a little bit.
I know this sounds weird, but ultimately we know what a naked woman looks like because we've probably seen it in other horror films.
Most of us do.
Well, yeah. But I think, like I said, there were some moments where legitimately people were laughing when they shouldn't have been. Like, particularly at the end where they overcome Pennywise, which ultimately becomes like they have to just bully him until he's a baby. Like, but then his head, when it goes into like this weird marshmallow thing and like plops down... What a f***ing load of like, that is absolute trash. It just looks absolutely awful. And to say that you've spent 2 movies, and particularly this one, a lengthy bloody movie, trying to get us and convince us that we should be scared of this character, to then just have his head plop like a bloody wet balloon... It's ridiculous.
It did feel like a very strange ending for... Obviously, Bill Skarsgård's interpretation of Pennywise is pretty f***ing cool. Like, the first one... Really good. The first film is really good. And obviously, he does have really good moments in the second film. But yeah, it did feel like a bit of a crap ending for such a character that I imagine he's... Well, obviously, he's put a lot of hard work and dedication into it. But now we've kind of got to, like... We've pretty much discussed the entirety of It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Question. Chapter 1...
Tell me what you think of... Sorry, I had to jump in there and be Beyonce for a moment.
Beyonce, is that you?
Beyonce.
Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 of the remake?
Chapter 1, definitely, is the stronger entry, 100%. But I think we've discussed it because it's from the kids' perspective.
Yeah.
Plus, it was all new, so we didn't really know what to expect.
Remake or TV?
I mean, the second half of the TV show version is pretty much unforgivable in every possible way. But like I said, there are moments that I think worked better in the TV show version.
Yeah, I think a lot more of that's done practically as well, though, and I think...
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't have... I think the problem with It Chapter 2, the one that we've just got...
Is the reliance on CG.
Well, I think it's the fact that there was no one saying no. Like, they had... such a budget for it. They had access to everything. I mean, even the kids were de-aged. So we're getting like Marvel level visual effects in a horror movie, which you don't hear of. And I mean,
it had scale, didn't it?
To see if that's maybe something we see in the future Halloween films. I know that they were talking about maybe bringing Loomis back in CG form, so similar to like Star Wars, Marvel. So I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's something that's pretty much unheard of in in a horror film. So. Yeah, the horror fan and filmmaker inside of me was like, yes, this is a film made on whatever budget ever. But I think the problem was that they didn't have anyone saying no, so it just became an abundance of bad decisions.
Yeah, and I think because obviously the first one did so well.
Yeah.
So well.
Well, yeah, the studio's naturally going to be like, right, well, we'll triple everything we gave you and just make sure we get triple the money back.
But the thing is, they probably have, because everyone had such high expectations, like you were saying, from the first one, that everybody went to see the second one.
Well, I think personally... I read that obviously the first one has the biggest horror kind of box office. I think this is coming third. At the moment, there's still, I think, going to be a release in China set to come. I think they'll probably obviously edit a few things for that audience, but overall, I think obviously they're going to be pulling in similar numbers.
I mean, I preferred the first one. In terms of favourite characters, I think that overall, out of the 2 entries to the remake, Bill Hader nicks all the prizes for me. But I do think the hokey CG lets Chapter 2 down.
I loved Eddie both in It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
So for me, Eddie, I think, was my favourite character. And I mean, I believe as well, the gazebos line was like an improvised kind of thing as well, which... I think that's like one of the moments that you really remember from that film.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely insane. And I mean, I'm a big fan of both actors who kind of portrayed Eddie, and I think they did a brilliant job.
And they look so scarily
much
similar as
played
well.
on that, though, didn't they? Like, I mean, you literally have the shot where they fade from one eye to the other, and like, it's crazy.
It's very well cast as well. I think that's something that they have done really well in Chapter 2.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you look at the kids, and obviously you do get the lovely flashback moments back to the kids, you look at the kids and you look at the adult actors, it's very believable that all of those children could grow up into being...
I think the only one that was maybe a little different was maybe James McAvoy.
But there, I think...
Visually, I don't think he had...
Not as well, but I do think it is still believable that he could have grown up into James McAvoy. So, we've talked the talk about it. Let's have a very quick run through some of our other favourite Killer Clown films.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to bring in quite an old one, and it was actually a scare zone at last year's Horror Nights. Going to just keep dropping in Horror Nights stuff until we go back.
Well, it's a scare zone at Horror Nights last year, but it's got its own maze this year.
It's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, I caught this when it was on television late one night as a child. Well, I say a child, I was probably about 12 or 13. And... I used to have a real fear of clowns. I did not like clowns.
Yeah.
Mostly because of Tim Curry's Pennywise. I didn't like clowns. So then when Killer Clowns from Outer Space was on television, scared the crap out of me. Did not like it at all.
Yeah.
As I've kind of grown up and working in scare attractions and having been in a circus-themed scare attraction for work for 2 years, my phobia of clowns kind of disappeared. So when we actually came to Horror Nights last year and... Killer Clowns from Outer Space was a scare zone, it scared me less, but still pretty freaking terrifying, I must say. So,
I don't know.
Killer Clown film.
I thought, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I only watched more recently after experiencing the scare zone. So, I mean, I went into that scare zone not really knowing anything. I know that there was people who were kind of saying, oh my God, they've got the cotton candy cocoons, they've got this character, they've got that. And I mean, it's basically just silliness, isn't it? Like, it's absolute trash.
But as a child who's got...
kind of fun trash. So... accepting it at what it is, I think it's kind of fun. I personally don't have any kind of phobia or fear of clowns. I can never have. Like, I personally don't really see what the big deal is. I know that I did have a friend at school, and this was quite funny because I think I won like a reading competition or something, so I got given tickets for the circus.
Oh wow.
That was like coming into kind of like town. And I mean, as we're recording this as well, I don't know if you've noticed, but there are like circuses in town at the moment, which is so creepy because obviously it's come out and like circuses have turned up, so people are going missing.
Be on your lookout.
In the Midlands, I invited him. And he decided to tell me, like, when we were at the circus, that he had this massive phobia of clowns.
Did he cry?
He did not have a good time. And, I mean, I kind of, like, asked him about it. I was like, well, what is it that, like, makes you so wigged out by clowns? And he said to me it was, like, the fact that they paint on these features...
Yes.
And you don't know, like, what they're thinking.
Yes,
and, like, they're smiling all the time, but they're not smiling.
That's what got me.
I think the problem was that he just didn't know who the person was and what they looked like. So
that was exactly the same for me. It's that painting
the whole mask kind of sitch with like serial killers we love. Like, I mean, the serial killers we love in like fake movies. I'm not talking like John Wayne Gacy, real clown killer. Like, no. But
no.
I don't know. I mean, there's an abundance of killer clown films, and in all honesty, more often than not, they're absolutely terrible.
Well, we watched a trailer the other day. This is just a little nugget that sprung into my brain.
Well, no, I think I caught this trailer because I think I was searching for like killer clown films, and this came up.
We went to visit Jono the other day.
Yes, hello, Jono.
Hi, because he is still with broken Achilles.
Honestly, he looks like RoboCop now. Like, from the waist down, he is fully cyborg. So
I mean, bless him, he's doing pretty well. But yeah, he's still, unfortunately, a little bit incapacitated.
Indisposed.
So Liam decided to share this glorious nugget of a trailer with us called Clownado, and that just looks hokey and ridiculous.
Well,
and
I mean,
stupid.
I think you pointed this out. The current trend is that they
just
add
shove
Nado.
something in a tornado.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah. So I mean, Duck-nado. That's probably going to be next. Just ducks everywhere.
Ducks, I'm fine with.
Goose-nado.
Geese-nado, no. Geese-nado, I'm staying inside. I'm getting in a cellar. I am cementing the door shut. Done. No,
Right, okay,
not
so
geese.
we know how to get rid of Charlie Clark then now. We just need to get geese and some wind.
Hate geese so much.
I mean, like I said, I was doing some research, kind of thinking about the films that I'd kind of seen. I think more recently, one that's been a hit amongst a lot of people has been Terrifier, which is a fairly independent film by a guy called Damien Leone. And I was familiar with his work from an anthology film that he did called All Hallows Eve. And I was familiar with that work because we also did an anthology film called All Hallows Evil. so obviously kind of like I stumbled upon his work just because he was also putting out short films before he like branched into feature films. But he made a film called Terrifier featuring a character called Art the Clown. Now Art the Clown is, I think, genuinely terrifying to look at.
Yeah, no, I don't like the look of him at all.
I think the design,
it's
the simplicity
teeth.
of it, everything, is absolutely spot on. The film itself is just like pure grindhouse trash. Like the gore, the kills, the bodily fluids that you see are just absolutely vile.
Blech.
So I mean, it's that sort of film. If you're wanting to see a film like that, then that would be a film I'd probably recommend. I know that I don't know if the funding page for it now is still running, but they are running like a GoFundMe kind of campaign at the moment for the second chapter. But I think they like exceeded like their budget like within the first like kind of 2 days. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of fans of that
super
film.
popular. Like Trick or Treat Studios have released masks. There's like official costumes out for it now. Like, and that's so inspiring to see like a fellow indie filmmaker go and make a film, and then this character and this icon kind of be generated from that. So
I mean, it is pretty cool. I mean,
it's amazing.
Speaking
it's really cool.
of fellow indie filmmakers, I think we'd have to give a bit of a shout out to Myco Entertainment and MJ Dixon's Cleaver, Killer Clown.
Yeah.
And the sequel, which is out in stores.
All good stores that stock all good films.
Yes, good stores that stock good films. Yeah, so Cleavers is out now, and that's a nice little indie grindhouse-esque. Not quite as grindhouse as
maybe Terrifier.
Terrifier, but it's definitely got that grindhouse edge. And obviously I've had the pleasure of working with MJ and his team this year on Pandemonium, so super nice to give those guys a shout out. So if you are looking for a nice British indie clown film, Cleaver,
although it is set in America,
it's set in America, but also the
British talent are behind it, so yeah
I mean, go check that out. It is available in
I don't think
stores.
that I ever told you this, but I actually knew of MJ a long time ago, like as in like when I just first started out on YouTube. And I can remember because I think I subscribed to him, he subscribed to me, and this was like before Super Freak Media was a thing. Like this was when I was like doing things on another channel, and I just always remember because he had the logo that kind of looked like the Jason mask with like the red eye and stuff. So I mean, that again has been super inspiring to kind of see a fellow filmmaker who, unfortunately, I've only met once in person. But MJ, I love your work, and I love like your work ethic. And even though you're starting your own family and you've got all of that going on now, like you've not lost sight of that. And you've just announced Slasher House 3 as well. And
yes, like so excited for that.
That's amazing. So like keep doing what you're doing, because for people like us, and hopefully obviously for you as well, it's just great to be a part of this community and keep inspiring each other. And it's so cool going into like places like Asda and HMV and seeing your DVD there.
Also,
so, well done, man.
I'm gonna so wave the flag for the horror wives out there. Anna also plays a huge part in everything, producing wise, and like the work she does. Like when we did Pandemonium, she was set to pop. Like little Ash was almost ready to come and greet us into the world.
That's what people don't see though, but it's because we love horror so much.
Yeah, and she's an absolute boss, and she's amazing. And I know that I kind of look at those guys and kind of look at me and you, and I kind of see a lot of parallels. Obviously, we're not quite at the starting the family stage, we have cats.
No, we have
the cats for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really inspiring when you do see fellow filmmakers and just genuinely nice people as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That get to make their films and, you know, celebrate their wonderful lives with their families and kind of are doing really well. So big up to Team Maiko. And I don't think we could actually go through a Killer Clowns episode without...
Well, but just before you get to that, because I know where you're heading, there are maybe a couple more that I just wanted to mention.
Okay.
I don't think you've checked this out yet either, but again, this is a gem that's on Netflix, so if you're getting into the spirit of Halloween and kind of getting into the spooky time of year, then now, there is a film online, or on Netflix, sorry, called Just Clown. And I don't think you've seen this, have you?
I've seen the
But
trailer
I've spoken to
for
you
it.
about it.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned it.
I'd probably say that's probably one of my kind of favourite clown films. It basically tells the story of this guy who's throwing a kid's birthday party. The clown doesn't turn up, so he goes into the attic and finds like this clown costume. Naturally,
I'm
just
sure
puts
this
it
is
on.
going to end well.
Basically, you find out as the film goes on, what he's put on is not a costume. It's actually the skin of a demon. So
Of course it is.
He can't get this thing off. And I mean, similarly to It Chapter 2 and It Chapter 1, I guess, to a degree, it does not shy away from killing children on screen. It is a film that is filled with death of minors.
Excellent.
And particularly, I think a standout scene for me, I mean, obviously in America, I think they have like chains of restaurants called like Chuck E. Cheese. We have like, can you remember Brewster's, and like you have like the Tumble Towns and like kind of things like that, you know, where it's like soft play centres that are attached to restaurants. So they have this like thing in the film, and this kid's party is obviously going off, and then you're following this kid like as he goes through like these tunnels and these slides, and then there's just this girl who's like, you don't want to go up there. So the kid naturally just goes up there,
and it's just death.
Yeah, this clown, basically this guy just turns into this demon because this suit's taken over, and let's just say it ends with an absolute wave of blood just coming down this kid's slide into a ball pit, and there's just body parts. It's absolutely everything you could possibly want. So for me, that's a great killer clown film that is very, very different to maybe some of the ones that we've mentioned kind of so far. So I'd check that out. I know you mentioned you wanted to see Stitches as well.
Yes,
which is
because I'm a big fan of Ross Noble and as a comedian, so I'd be quite interested to see him in a clown film, so that's going to be on my watch list. I don't think it's necessarily something that will scare you. He is certainly a killer clown, and I think it qualifies, but it's very tongue-in-cheek, very kind of like weird. It's just very, very odd. There was as well a film that I watched, and this was absolute years and years and years ago, and I'm just trying to find the name of it now. Oh, I can't for the life of me think what it was. It was something like One Missed Call or something like that, but it wasn't the One Missed Call film. But in that kind of vein. But what was unique about it, I mean, it stars Sean Pertwee, so obviously he plays like the janitor, who's basically like this wraparound character who gives us this kind of story of what's going on at this school. What was unique about it was that it was a film that was actually released on mobile phones, so it was sent to people like on their phones. That's really cool. It was then released on DVD as like a feature film, but it was so weird. And I mean, it had some like really weird like moments in it, in terms of like, basically they wished for something, and then this clown would like kill them. They get their wish. Like, for example, one of the characters wished that she would lose so much weight. The way that it ended up happening is that her arm then ended up getting cut off. So then when she got on the scales, she'd lost that amount of weight. So like it was kind of like a moral sort of story, and like there was people like exploding and like all this kind of crazy stuff. I'm just trying to think what it was called. When Evil Calls. So it was very similar to One Missed Call. But yeah, When Evil Calls. I mean, it's classed as on IMDb as a TV miniseries, but this was back in 2006. So this was like the golden age of when everyone had Motorola Razors and flip phones. And I think I had one of those freaking Sony Ericsson Walkman phones. Yeah, no, definitely. But, I mean, that age. I can remember just watching it, and it felt like really unique, but what was great about it was that it was kind of like this thing. It was all happening at like a British school, and obviously I was at the age where I was then at school, and it was really, really cool to kind of watch. So
I wouldn't necessarily recommend checking it out, but it was kind of cool at the time that it got released the way it did.
Yes.
But, yes.
Well, as I was going to mention...
Before you were rudely
interrupted.
Sorry.
No, because there are some really great recommendations there of stuff that's maybe a little bit different to what we would normally expect, but I don't think we can go through a clown episode without talking about House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yes.
And the very sad news this week that Captain Spaulding's Sid Haig unfortunately passed away. Now, I think from what I've read online, it was from a long-term illness.
Yeah. I mean, Rob Zombie,
I don't think they've
kind of
officially
Rob Zombie kind of said, because obviously From Hell has just been released, which is
Three from Hell,
yeah, Three from Hell, sorry, has just been released, which is the third part of his trilogy. So you've got House of a Thousand Corpses, which is very silly and I think very different than the others.
But Captain Spaulding is...
And then you've got the Three from Hell.
Yeah.
The three that are featured in the film don't actually include Sid Haig, and that was due to the fact that the studio couldn't get kind of insurance for him. So obviously there was something going on.
Yeah.
And I think they had like one opportunity to kind of do this like super guerrilla, just film a bit. So, and he said that he wanted to obviously make that kind of like his last thing. But yeah, Captain Spaulding, absolutely iconic character. And I mean, at Horror Nights this year, you've got the House of a Thousand Corpses mazes at Hollywood and Orlando.
I kind of like to think that maybe he got to see a little bit of that, because obviously Horror Nights has all kicked off. I really hope he got to maybe see a little bit of that, because what an amazing thing as an actor to have created and brought to life such an iconic character.
And absolute decades.
I mean,
like,
he was 80,
acting,
wasn't he?
Like, I think as far back as the 60s, I'm sure I read, like he was acting when he was like super young to like now. But he always kind of said that Captain Spaulding was like his character and his thing. And I mean, a lot of our friends obviously got to meet him at HorrorCon when he was there. Unfortunately, I think that was a year that we didn't go.
I think that was maybe the year before we
started going to conventions.
Yeah.
But I mean, that just shows you like how precious it is and how valuable it is to go and meet these people, because all of these people that we meet, I mean, we're sat in your room right now and I'm like looking at pictures of you with like Corey Feldman, Dee Wallace, and they're all people that we got to like meet, and they're people that have all been part of films that have shaped us as creators, our lives, everything. And I don't know, although it was obviously super sad news, and I think I'd kind of read rumblings of stuff the week leading up to it, so I wasn't surprised when I saw that he'd passed away. Obviously it was very sad, but it's so wonderful to like see the people around us who love horror and film fans and stuff really kind of salute this guy and say, do you know what, because in all honesty the film itself is so schlocky and it could be kind of considered as like kind of awful in a lot of ways, but
there's a lot of love in that film.
A lot of people, and it made people feel a certain kind of way. I would have loved to have gone through his museum, by the way. Yeah. Like, that would have been absolutely insane. But, that's another story.
I have a lot of love for Rob Zombie. Not necessarily what he did to Halloween, although I do find his interpretation of Halloween interesting.
His aesthetic, I'll say that.
But I'm a big Rob Zombie fan in terms of music, and you know, House of a Thousand Corpses was this. I watched it after I watched Halloween. It's what it is. It's a great film in many ways. Like you said, it's quite hokey. It's a little bit strange.
Devil's Rejects definitely goes very much more down a serious path. Yeah, and obviously I still have yet to see Three from Hell.
Yeah, so, but what a character to leave behind.
Absolutely.
Like what a stamp to leave.
But that's it. I mean, these characters just endure, don't they?
And the thing is, he did that later on in his career.
Up as him, like 10 years from now at Halloween.
Yeah, and people are still gonna know who Captain Spaulding is, and you know, like. Yeah, he's a great character, and I think from a lot of people we know that have met him, and a lot of people that make films.
He's a wonderful person as well.
Yeah, so, definitely a wonderful person, and I know that he's definitely going to be very much missed within the horror community. So we salute you, Sid Haig. You scary, creepy clown dude. Yeah. But yeah, big love to Sid Haig and his family and friends. Yeah. So, to cheer us back up after that little sad interlude, somber moment, because the spooky season is upon us, and because... Thank you. because Halloween is just around the corner, I think our next episode is going to be talking all about the Halloween franchise.
Yes.
Because what else would you talk about on Halloween?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, as well, I think it's you can't talk about anything else, can you, really?
So the next episode we're going to be discussing... Yeah, we're going to be discussing the Halloween franchise, its remakes, its reimaginings, its sequels. So I've got a lot...
many ways you can watch Halloween.
The many ways in which to watch Halloween.
Yeah.
But before we depart, I think it would be really cool, since we've got about a month to go until the big day, some Halloween recommendations. Maybe classics or maybe newer things that we've watched.
Yeah.
So do you want to kick us off with your first recommendation for spooky season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, by the time that the next podcast comes out, it will be upon us. So these are kind of, I guess, things we would say check
watch
out
from now
in this
until
next
then
month or so to get you in the zone. So I think I've got a bit of a mixed bag. I've got some ones that are kind of like childhood favourites, and then I've got some ones that are obviously more adult.
Yes.
But I mean, obviously, first off, I'd start with Halloween, the original 1978 original. Get your research done for the next episode and watch that film and see how kick-ass Laurie Strode is and how creepy Michael Myers is.
And also, big up to John Carpenter, because we got to meet him and he's really
on
cool.
Halloween. Yes.
So cool. We'll probably talk about that in the next episode, because I don't know if we've actually
talk about.
mentioned that on the podcast
No,
yet.
just massive clang, name drop. We met John Carpenter at Halloween a few years ago.
On Halloween
night, and he played the Halloween soundtrack.
Clang. So, nice first recommendation. My recommendation number 1 is possibly one of my favourite films ever. I quote this film all the time. I feel that I am growing into one of the characters as I get older.
You're growing. I think you're just her
I am already a Sanderson sister. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, get out and stop listening to the podcast. No, I'm of course talking about Hocus Pocus. Nice little kids film, but... classic.
Well, you say that. I was not allowed to watch this film. Like, literally,
I love this story.
I watched it for the first time at uni. Because
what is wrong with you?
I don't know. I think my mum heard the story that someone's tongue got stolen in the film. I think she was getting confused, obviously, with something else. But, like, I don't know. I can remember I got lent it, and this is how I'm showing my age now. I got lent it on VHS, and then... I never watched it because it was that and Scooby-Doo as well. So, I mean, obviously 2 films that we absolutely love now. And yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch it. It was like, no, it's going to give you nightmares. Well, look what happened.
Well, for me, Hocus Pocus and Labyrinth were probably 2 of my favourite films growing up. And yeah, look where that got me.
Yeah.
So I love the Sanderson sisters.
Everyone loves Hocus Pocus.
If you don't love Hocus Pocus,
get out.
Please get out. Stop listening. Stop. Unsubscribe. Don't bother contacting us ever again. No, Hocus Pocus is amazing. And the last 2 Halloweens we've actually been to Disney. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and got to see the Villain Show, which the Sanderson sisters make a glorious
return.
Yes, and it's just amazing. I love everything about it.
I got blown a kiss.
You did, well, by Sarah
Sanderson blew me a kiss. She probably wanted to take me away and put me in a cauldron, but I was fine with that.
Come, little children, I'll take thee away.
Just
I'll stop singing now.
Musical interlude in the podcast.
Okay, what's your next recommendation?
I'm going to go with a kiddie favourite then at the moment, The Halloween Tree. Now,
I have not seen this.
It's based on a story by Ray Bradbury. I'd love to read the book. Like, I need to get my hands on the book. And again, this was something, although it's a kids' film, I only watched probably in the last couple of years, because I was like, do you know what? Why aren't I like just watching all of these like 80s and 90s Halloween films that are absolutely awful, but obviously have a special place in a lot of people's hearts? It features the voice of Leonard Nimoy, again, another great person who isn't with us any longer. His character is super creepy, but when I tell you it's like old school 80s looking like animation, I mean, I think it was late 80s, early 90s it came out as a film. It's, again, tells quite a serious story, but absolutely so heartwarming, so amazing. These kids dressed up in their Halloween costumes going on this adventure to try and like rescue their friend. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It is a cartoon, but yeah, you should definitely check it out.
I've just got a bonus one which I feel from your description. I mean, I don't know if it's on your list. Can I look at your list before I say it?
You can.
Oh, no, it's not on there.
Okay.
I'm going to just drop in an extra one before I give you my number 2. Monster Squad.
Yes.
Monster Squad.
Not really Halloweeny though.
No, but very much
Features
Goonies
all the monsters,
and all
though.
the monsters.
Basically
so.
Goonies versus Universal Monsters.
Yeah, pretty
Stan
much.
Winston
So.
had an absolute field day doing the makeup on that. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good one to check out. But my number 2...
I like that. That's a good choice. That was a bonus. That was a...
Bonus.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Bonus film. So my next recommendation is actually from a TV series, one of the best TV series ever, and if you disagree, please unsubscribe and stop listening to the podcast.
Well, we've lost literally anyone that was listening.
No, because everybody, I know so many people that love this TV series. Brooklyn Nine-Nine every year does the Halloween heist episodes, and when I tell you they are the thing that I look forward to most in each season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they are amazing. They're always a lot of fun, and they always have a little twist and turn that you don't expect. Not going to give any spoilers away, but the last one that I watched... The feels were real.
Yeah.
I don't think the latest series that they've got
not
in the
very
States
spooky
is...
at all,
No, not spooky, but a lot
some
of
Halloween
fun.
decorations that are up in the background, so it qualifies, so deal with it.
There's pretty much always some kind of crazy Charles Boyle Halloween costume.
Yes.
Or some kind of weird goodness.
You've always got to look forward to that.
There's those. So go check those out. They're a lot of fun.
Next one, I'm going back to kind of adult then on this one. Night of the Demons. So again, another kind of classic 80s horror film. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Absolute killer soundtrack, killer makeup effects, just 80s everything.
Amazing.
And the character of Angela is just Halloween goals when you're going into a weird house and performing a seance. It's probably what you want to happen.
Of course. My next one is, again, another TV series, probably a little more spooky than Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, definitely a lot more spooky than Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 4, the episode named Fear Itself. It's actually... Liam pointed this out, I didn't realise this, actually the house from American Horror Story, Murder House, that they go into, and obviously the house kind of forces them all to separate, and their kind of worst fears become real. Oz kind of starts turning into a werewolf, and a lot of horrendous stuff.
Spiders and
there's spiders,
and, like, weird things
Willow has all the spiders on her. I know Xander is kind of dressed as James Bond in this episode, which is quite a lot of fun. Great episode, hilarious ending, with the demon that you think is going to be the most terrifying thing in the world is actually
like 2 inches.
2 inches tall.
Yeah.
It's
like,
no, fear me, which is hilarious. So yeah, that's a lot of fun and really kind of old school.
I think it's classic,
cool,
Buffy,
and classic quintessential Buffy episode. And who doesn't love Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I mean, to add to that. As well, so I've got a bonus then now. It's not Halloween themed, but again stems from an experience I had. Like every year my mum used to always like buy me a trick or treat bag that would like have some kind of Halloween gift in it.
Ooh,
I'd have like Halloween candy and stuff, but I can remember I got like a pop-up Dracula book when I was a kid, and like each year I'd get something new, and one year she bought me like the greatest hits of Buffy.
I've got it, it's on my shelf, I can see it.
And there is one episode on there which is obviously, for me, hands down, is the best episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer ever, and that would be Hush. Whoa. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. Again, I think that's possibly Season 4 as well. I think Season 4 had a lot of good... In fact, I'm sure it is, because I think I watched it recently. No spoilers, but in inspiration for Do You See It Too? So I'd definitely check out Hush as well, because that's a good one. Another one that I would recommend then checking out in terms of Halloween film, again, going back to kind of a kiddie sort of choice, would be Halloween Town. Again, it was something that I was kind of seeing like people would watch when they were younger. I mean, I'm an absolute sucker, for YouTube, going and finding like 90s Halloween commercials and just putting them on in the background like while I like work and stuff. And then I think I saw a trailer for this because it was like, next on so-and-so, Halloween Town. And I was like, do you know what? That looks like so bad it's good. I actually found out as well last week that the town in which it was filmed I think is in an area of Portland in America.
Interesting.
They throw an annual Halloween fest which lasts all year, every day of not all year, sorry, all like month.
Oh, I think I saw someone shared this on Facebook.
They literally make Halloween Town like a reality there.
Right,
and you can
that's on the travel
and
list.
Experience it. There's like the pumpkin statue, everything. So, and obviously this was with Carrie Fisher's mother in it as well. She kind of plays like this witch. Again, kind of giving you Sabrina vibes, kind of pre-Sabrina, but...
Amazing.
Yeah, I definitely check that out.
Another bonus one, you've just mentioned it. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
On
very
Netflix.
good. On Netflix. Very cool.
Series
Bonus one.
1 and 2.
Yeah, awesome.
Check
I need
them
to
out.
finish Series 2. We've chucked in a lot of bonuses.
Yeah, we should probably start.
Yeah, my next one on the list, again, not necessarily Halloween, but a nice classic feely Tim Burton classic tale of Headless Horseman and horrendousness.
Words.
Could not speak then.
Words.
Sleepy Hollow is probably one of my favourite films of all time.
Yeah, I mean...
I love Sleepy Hollow.
It's one of those films, whenever it's on TV, I'll always watch it.
Oh, yeah,
like,
and I always forget how many, like, amazing British actors are in it.
Yeah.
Michael Gambon's in it. I can't remember his name, but he played Vernon Dursley in Harry Potter.
Oh, I know who you mean, yeah, he gets
Can't remember his
beheaded and
name.
his head rolls down the hill, doesn't it?
Obviously, Johnny Depp's in it.
Gets beheaded is probably the most common thing I could say about him.
Christopher Walken's in it. Miranda Richardson's in it. Yeah, there's so many people in that. And again, Christopher Walken, the first time I watched that film was probably about 14. Scared the crap out of me.
I think, again, I was probably far too young when I watched this film, because I always remember the scene with the... there's the lamp that's spinning with the silhouettes of like the stars.
Oh,
and then the headless horseman comes in, gets the dad. Then the mum's hiding in the corner and the kids under the floorboards. And then you think
the hand just comes
you just
through.
see her head, obviously, like her eyes just like look through the cracks. Terrifying, absolutely genius. And then when the hand comes through and grabs the kid, you're like, oh
no,
my God.
I tell you, the bit that got me was when they're telling the story, when Christina Ricci's character is telling Johnny Depp's character about the Headless Horseman, and you get like that flashback of him in battle where he's like with the sword, and I just remember him turning to camera and the teeth. There's something about like unnatural teeth in
films. I watch
films.
Sleepy Hollow now, so we can probably go.
Yeah, we'll probably go and watch that.
But I mean, I've got my last one then now, and I mean, it wouldn't be Halloween without watching this film, and that would have to be Trick or Treat.
Yes.
The anthology film, which hopefully we are going to get a bloody sequel at some point, because it was announced, they had this whole presentation
what happened to
where
that?
it was like, number 2's coming out, but then Michael Dougherty got really busy having to go and do Krampus and then Godzilla, so I guess I'll forgive him. But yeah, please get back to writing another one, because I want to see Sam come back, and I absolutely love that film so much. It's the Pulp Fiction of horror, and for me, like, I think I watch it at least like twice before Halloween. Like, I have to.
I love that.
It's so orange, it's so warm, the colour palette, the music, the whole... and practical effects.
Yeah.
Not much CGI in there, if at all.
And we also got the pleasure of doing The Maze. Horror Nights, was it Horror Nights last year?
Well, there was a scare zone the first year, so similarly to Killer Clowns, how they've done that.
Yeah, so Horror Nights 27, there was the scare zone. Horror Nights 28 in Orlando, there was the scare maze, and it was just everything.
Like, it had like the full like sunken bust. And
it was like walking through the film. It literally felt like you were walking through the film.
Magic.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
My final one again, and I've realised it's another television thing. So I've got 3 of 5.
You're balancing it out. I mean, Richard isn't here to be talking about podcasts, so you might as well talk
and
about
audiobooks.
TV.
Stranger Things season 2.
Yeah.
Obviously,
bum, 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 bum.
they dress up as Ghostbusters. It's Halloween. There's lots of fun things going on.
The whole season's pretty much like
Halloween.
Autumn. Halloween.
Yeah.
Everything.
So we love Stranger Things. We're a bit obsessed with Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So, go and watch Stranger Things if you haven't already, but of course you've watched it already because everybody's watched Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's not really niche anymore, is it?
I did actually have a thing talking about my time in Italy very, very quickly before we wrap up. When I went to Italy, I was teaching some kids in my first week, and we were doing our showpiece for the end of camp show, and some of the kids were like, Charlie, can we sing in the show The Never Ending Story from Stranger Things? And I was like,
You can sing the Never-Ending Story from Never-Ending Story.
Yeah, you can sing it. It's from Never-Ending Story, so you can sing it from that. But sure, but yeah, all the even like it's crazy how many people like all over the world just love Stranger Things, and I had quite a few conversations.
Isn't it? Like to me, I think that's like this generation's like Star Wars or whatever. Like that's genuinely going to be something that.
Well, it feels because it's TV. I think it's like It's a bit how Buffy the Vampire Slayer was, because I don't remember many of my friends not sitting down on a Sunday evening after having their like preschool bath on a Sunday night watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I remember watching
Sunday
The
nights,
Simpsons.
you had to go in early, you had to have that bath, and then you were like, I've got to be in school tomorrow.
Quickly scribble the homework down while Antiques Roadshow's on. Then it was The Simpsons. No, I remember watching Antiques Roadshow, Last of the Summer Wine, Heartbeat, then it was The Simpsons, and then Buffy the Vampire Slayer was on.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You've lived
Sunday
a life.
nights.
You've lived a life.
Sunday nights with my dad. Good memories, good times. So yeah, like we said on the next episode, because I think we've talked for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I can't wait to edit this.
Good times. So we're going to talk about Halloween, the franchise, and all things Michael Myers, John Carpenter, and spooky things. Let us know on social media if you have watched any of our recommendations, and please get in touch about your feelings on the Halloween franchise. Do you like the remake? Do you like the sequel? Interesting. We will all find out on the next podcast. Yeah. So, until next time, keep it creepy, and we will see you on the other side. Woo!
Any bloopers for this one?
No, we've kind of hammered it out.
Yeah, I think we're just too efficient for this now.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the blooper.
Suck it, Jono.
Yeah, suck it, Jono.
Jono makes us
see what we can do without you.